Hey everyone, I'm a little late to the party this year, but here's my ranking of every maze at Universal Studios Hollywood Halloween Horror Nights 2022. Starting off at the bottom of my list is Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I know, it feels wrong for me to be putting this at the bottom. Sadly, it was just a repeat of what they did before, which was a great maze and one of my all-time favorites. It just felt a little lesser this year, and compared to everything else on the list, I had to put it at the bottom. I just wish they had done something different and incorporated some other scenes, or maybe brought over some props or sets from the Florida maze they did. Number 8 on the list is the Terror Tram. I was happy to see the return of Hollywood Harry. I don't think this was his best Terror Tram, but I'm always a fan of original ideas. You get to have more freedom than sticking to an IP. Some of the characters and the costumes are really cool this year, like the Cat Girls and the Bat Boys. I also love that they incorporated the Jupiter's Claim Western town from Nope, and mixing up with his last movie, Us, having the tethered run around. It was a fun and unique addition to the Terror Tram that made it stick out this year. After that, at number 7 is Halloween. Now at this point, I think we're all a little tired of Michael Myers. I do love Halloween, and I think this maze was a better version of the original Halloween maze they did in 2015. The scenes, the sets, the costumes was all great. I just put it lower on my list compared to some of the others because it was once again something we had seen before. Moments in this maze like the hedges and the clotheslines I think were done better this year than in the past. I also love the addition of Laurie in the maze. Do wish we had the ending from the Halloween 2 maze years ago where you go through the giant pumpkin. That's one of my all-time favorite scenes in any maze, and I hope we get it back in the future. Number 6 is the Horror Hotel. Like I said before, I'm always a fan of original mazes. I really like the old Hollywood setting. It felt very Tower of Terror, Twilight Zone-y. The characters and the costumes and the storytelling was fun. I really love some of the scares, like the bedroom where 3 actors all come out at once. I wouldn't mind a maze like this coming back in the future, maybe telling us the next chapter in this story. Number 5 on my list is Universal Monsters Legends Collide. I'm always a huge fan of the Universal Monster mazes every year, and I was excited for this one. This maze had some pretty good scares. The music by Slash is always great. I was really happy to see the Mummy, who's usually less represented on the lineup of monsters. I'm still hoping to get more mazes with the Invisible Man in the future. Him and the Creature from the Black Lagoon have always been some of my favorites, and they never get enough love. Compared to the other monster mazes, I enjoyed this one more than Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, but I didn't think it was as good as the first Monsters maze or The Bride of Frankenstein Lives. Number 4 is the Horrors of BLUMHOUSE, the double feature maze including Freaky and the Black Phone. Besides the fact that I worked in the maze playing the Grabber, I really enjoyed this maze as a guest. I'm a fan of both movies, especially The Black Phone, and I was happy to see them as mazes. I think the costumes were great, the sets were done well, it had some great moments including the teacher getting sawed in half, and coming face to face with the Grabber in the basement from The Black Phone. Number 3 on the list is The WEEKND. As I've said before, I'm not a huge fan of music mazes, and when I first heard The WEEKND was coming to Horror Nights, I thought that maze is going to be lame. But I was wrong, I had a lot of fun in this maze. There were a lot of cool costumes and characters, the lighting was cool. My favorite parts were the mirror maze and the bandage up girls in the bathrooms. It also felt like one of the longer mazes, which is a good thing. And of course, can't forget the giant frog monsters. I don't know what was going on with the story, but it was cool. Number 2 is a fan favorite, LLORONA. I loved this maze when they first did it a decade ago, and when I heard it was coming back I was thrilled. It was just as freaky as I remember, and they made improvements on it too. I also love the addition of the scare zone at the end with all the other monsters. I hope this isn't the last we see of LLORONA and they bring her back in some form in the future. Maybe we can get El Cucuy back again. That leaves me with my number 1, which was easily Scarecrow the Reaping. This was such a cool original maze and one of the scariest I think they've done in years. I've always been a fan of scarecrows in general. I've always thought they were really freaky, just like a lot of people are freaked out by clowns. I love the facade, I love all the setting, it was very detailed, and the costumes all looked great. I wish I could have gone through this maze more often. It would have been fun to work in too. Scarecrow is by far my favorite this year, and one of my favorites they've ever done. I hope we get to see it back again in the future. So that's my ranking of every maze at Universal Studios Hollywood Halloween Horror Nights 2022. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my ranking. Tell me your favorites, and what do you want to see in 2023?